that I've worked with in the past that are awesome, like on it, can to get all the way to this point, they can explain coverage, they can do all of that, but they can't ask for the business. And I'm like, all right, that's, you set everything up perfectly. And all you gotta do is pivot into, all right, let's get this going, you know? But there are just some agents that struggle with that and struggle with, well, what do I say and how do I say it? And I don't want to sound salesy and all that good stuff. So I'm gonna throw it out to you guys. How do you feel? And I want to hear from all of you. How do you feel that you function at this piece? Do you feel like you have good traction with it? Do you feel like you're successful? Do you feel, I don't know, how do you feel with the closing the deal?
Like,
Okay, go ahead.
You can go, Gabby.
Okay, I think that I do good, like maybe 75% of the time. I mean, usually when a walk-in comes in, it's usually they're looking and they're ready to switch anyways if they're searching anyways. Usually something that I say to people is I just look at them and I'm like, is this something that sounds good to you? Or are you ready to like start moving forward to the next step? And usually if they're a little like, oh, well, I'm not sure, like I kind of am shopping around at a couple of different places. That's usually a place that I get stuck with, is that they say that they're shopping around. But usually, if I like can tell that I have a good relationship with this person already, just from like sitting and talking with them, it's usually pretty easy for me. Just because I mean that's why they came in anyways. So at that point, it's not usually like I'm trying to like sell them like, okay, well we need to do this, we need to do it.
Yeah.
And so usually if they're like into shopping around, like I said, like I struggle with that, having to like follow up with them in like a day or two, and then you call them, oh, well, we got a cheaper deal and we didn't let you know, or blah, 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 blah. So I guess that's something that I would like to get better at, is like they leave and we're all set up. We just gotta set, or like either help them with canceling their old insurance or whatever with that. But when they're shopping around, that's definitely where I struggle.
Okay. Fair. Well, I will address that for sure.
Okay. Perfect.
All right. Who else?
for
Jeremy.
me, I feel like I am pretty solid at closing as well. When it's somebody that, like for me specifically, a lot of the times when it's really easy to really close is when somebody wants somebody they can work with in person. It's right. And where I struggle is when it's somebody who's shopping for price, because if it's a wildfire related thing, then it's a wildfire related thing, and I'm one of like 3 places they can go to, and that's easy. But if it's like auto insurance, and it was just like, hey, I just want to see what you can do compared to the other guy, that's kind of where I struggle. So kind of like Gabby, it's like when they're shopping around is when I have a harder time, and I think it's something where I probably just need to work on. Not only like, okay, here's the coverage, but also probably doing a better job of explaining what makes country different, what makes like the approach we do a little bit different. But when it's somebody who's like kind of already knows what they're looking for, I'm very good at being like, here's this, here's what you should work with me, let's get it going, and that tends to work out. So
Yeah.
Well, and I feel like I've noticed before too, is like when somebody's had a bad experience prior, and then they come in and like, and we like reassure them and all the things that they're like not sure about, and like when we have the knowledge. And I know I missed the last one on explaining coverages. But when I feel like I do a good job explaining coverages, and they know that they can trust me, then I feel like that's a really big selling point too, and you don't have to work so hard on closing it because they're already sold when they feel like they can trust you. So yeah, so definitely they're shopping around for experience, it's easy. But when they're shopping around for price, I would agree that that's probably the hardest part.
Perfect. Jimmy Bennett.
So I think I was being too nice to everybody and letting them like me, especially friends that I know. But now I'm like, nope, I just want to say, okay, how, what is it, Visa or MasterCard? Like, that's what I did at the gym. Like, how do you want to pay? I mean, it was black and white, but I knew that like the back of my hand. And I think just me getting more familiar with the process and learning the systems and dealing with the IT stuff was a pain in the butt. But now that that's over with, now it's like, okay, now I can focus in on like speeding up because I was hesitant to close when I couldn't even access the clients' folders or even new prospects. I was like, oof. So, but now I'm over that hump and I'm just gonna ask them, okay, I'll give them three options: Visa, MasterCard, or American Express. No. So,
I was gonna say Visa, MasterCard, a punch in the face.
oh,
Do it.
there, yeah, yeah. I don't know. I don't want to put it on a claim just starting them out. No.
The fact that you use humor, I mean, I think that is such a, it's such an advantage to you because
Oh,
everyone loves you. So if you use humor, I mean,
yeah.
it's just like, all right, Jimmy, I'll do it, you know.
Well,
Uh,
when I come across people, like especially ones the only thing that I have from my history is my trust in everybody that I've come
yeah,
across, and everybody that's in there. I've never misguided them, directed them back, and that's what even with Sam, he's like, "Oh, I don't want to be bullied into just holding the customer service." I was all, "I could bully you, but I'm not going to be that person. I'm going to be here to help you through the process and figure it out as we go along. And if I can't figure it out, I got experts that can help me along the way, like you, Jeremy, Gabby, Matt, everybody in country, like just picking the parts, letting them know, like, yeah, I'm alone, but I'm not alone." So,
Matt, how are you with this piece?
I'm getting better at it. I'm getting more confident of explaining the coverages and all that, you know, prior kind of stumbling through because it's all new business for me.
Right.
You know, so prior from stumbling through that, I'm getting a little better at it, but it's the same thing. It's the cost shoppers that are just, you know, they're just hard to seal the deal because if they're just looking for the cheapest deal, those are the ones that are hard to, you know, explain what the coverage is and why it's better and what they're getting. But if they're just looking for the cheapest, those are the hard ones.
Yeah, yeah. And it's fair, right? There's so many moving parts to taking a client on. A lot of it is no control of yours, right? I was coaching with Jimmy a little bit earlier this morning and we were going through some life apps that he submitted and really just, all right, so if the buck is stopped right now until the client takes action, right? So hey, we have no control over that. Or somebody called in and wants a quote and they have 3 speeding tickets. Like those are not, we don't, well, it's this price because of what you did,
yeah,
not because we're overcharging, you know? So it's
right.
really just, you know, and I said this to Jimmy earlier today, when you have 15 people in the hopper, one that kind of is like complaining about rate, you're like, I got 14 other ones next, you know, like, but when you only have 2 and one is, you can't close because they're complaining about something that they did, that hurts a little bit more. You're like, oh, I really want this one because I need it, you know? So put yourself in a position where you don't need it, where you have 14 other people that you're working with and maybe this client, because they're, you know, you can't close them, they're shopping, they're doing, you know, whatever. You're just like, all right, next, let's get someone that values what I bring to the table. All right. So I think it goes back to, let me now kind of address the hesitancies, right? A lot of it has to do with confidence. A lot of it has to do with confidence. You know, I don't know how many times you've heard me say, clients will follow if we lead. They will. And if you come across confident and say, hey, here's the next step of the process, and I can tell like you're nodding your head, you're in agreement. So let's just get this thing closed out. You know, I want you to walk out of here knowing that you have some great coverage, you have a great agent who's an expert in the area, you have a great company that backs up what they say they're going to do. Should you have a claim, all those things are a great value, and I can tell that you agree with that. All right, so the next step in the process is here's what I'm going to do, and then you just go right into it, right? And they'll follow. What are they going to say? Oh, no, 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 no. I mean, you've even used some language of, would you be opposed to let's getting this started today? Would you be opposed?
Yeah.
Right, what's the first thing you think of when I say that? Would you be opposed to getting this done today? Somebody has to say, yes, I'd be opposed to that. It's a language thing. It's the way that you position the question. If you say, would you like to get this started today? Well, I'm kind of shopping. I'm gonna get some other quotes. If you say, would you be opposed to getting, let's get this done right now? Would you be opposed to that? No, I'm not opposed to that, or yes, I'm opposed. Like, people won't say, yes, I'm opposed to it, right?
Or in my experience, if they do, then that pushback is good because it means they're actually strongly considering it. You just have to kind of figure out
Yeah.
what their concern is. If you address it, then you should be able to get it
Right.
forward.
Yeah. So Gabby, try that. Okay, try that, like, just that language of, hey, would you be opposed to getting this all set up? You know, I'm game if you're game.
Okay, and I think, I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there's another, like, little, I mean, just a little tweak to that is like something that I like to say is getting this taken care of rather than getting it started, because it feels like it's like this big, huge daunting task that people like have to take care of. And you say, let's get it, or like, let's get it taken care of together, then it's like, oh, they have something off their checklist that they had to get done.
Good, good.
I was thinking like,
Very good.
is that good? I was thinking like it's probably a good thing, just
No,
like
it is.
psychologically, but, okay, cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Would you be opposed to getting this taken care of today? Yeah, let's go. The other thing is, if you do get, I mean, I'm just imagining someone sitting in front of me, and as I'm going through it and I'm getting to this point, and I say, hey, would you be opposed to getting this taken care of today? And they're like, well, all right, so let me remind you again, kind of, in our previous, like, when we start this whole process, this is what you said was of value to you. All right, and so hopefully you've had that conversation with them, like, what is of value to you? What do you value when you're working with an insurance agent or looking at shopping around? What are you looking for? You know, and for them, we get rates, like, we get that. And you can even say, hey, I get the rate thing. All right, what else? What else is important to you? Like, make them answer that question, because then you can use that at this time, right? So if they said rate was really important, well, what else? Like, make them say something else. And hopefully it falls into the category of a company I can rely on, someone I can call, someone who's responsive. I mean, there's a plethora of other answers that could come up, right? And so then you take them back to, you can even address, hey, I see there's a little bit of hesitancy, so let me reinforce a couple things in our conversation earlier. Is you said this was important to you, that you could, like, someone would answer if you called. All right, so it's me, it's my staff, it's, you know, we have this office here, you know where to find me. All right. You said that the claims experience was important because you've had a crappy experience at your other insurance company. You know, they said they do one thing and they didn't follow through. All right, well, here's what I can guarantee is that country is, you know, number one in claims experience, according to, you know, our clients. Here's what you said was important is someone that you can rely on or count on. Well, I'm the best there is. All right. And really, it's having that confidence to say that. It's having that confidence to say, Jeremy and sisters, hey, I'm the best there is, sisters. Like, this is, you know, and then just name why that is. All right. I'm an expert. Look at what we've done so far. Wildfire score, like, we're, you know, one of the top 3 companies that takes that on. And whatever it is that you want to promote as being of value. All right, so here's what you said. Here's how we fill those buckets for you, how I and my team fill those buckets for you. Would you be opposed to getting this taken care of today? All right, so, and if they say they're shopping, like, let's just say, Gabby, they come right back again. They say, well, I'm really shopping around. All right, here's what I have said at that point. What would it take to get you to commit to me today? What would it take? All right, what are you missing? How can I earn your business? Things like that, where that just shows that you're gonna work to earn their business.
Or we can say, hey, great, well, you don't have to shop anymore. I'm here. You found it.
You found the best, why? You know?
I think those are really good golden nuggets that you have in there, Christine. Like those are like one-liners, sentences. You should put a book of how to sell insurance with all the parts to it. So, but that just shows the experience that you have and just the confidence of you were an agent, you were here, you worked all parts, so you understand it more than somebody that's never been in the field or never sold anything or all that. I think that's just helps us to relate, or at least for me to relate on a more personal level. Is like, okay, yeah, she's been there, done that.
It's to have, Jimmy, it's to have that confidence, and I have 100% confidence that if I were an agent and someone came in and I was presenting them with home and auto coverage with country, with my agency,
Mm.
if they leave, they're not getting the best. Absolutely. Like I have 100% confidence in that, and I have no problem talking through that. And you can tell I'm confident about that, and it comes from my heart because I know that's the fact,
Yes.
right? And I have that confidence. And hey, if you leave without securing your insurance with me and becoming part of my country family, you're not going to get the best. You're not getting the best out there, you know. So what can I do to earn your business? Like I'd love to have you as part of my agency, part of my family, you know. And here's what you said was of value to you, and here's what we do. Here's how we meet that, you know. And it is a lot of it with the confidence you come across with it, and being very direct. Like people will be like, "Wow, okay." You know, I have had people that said, "Wow, all right, well, I guess, let's go." You know,
That was something with Bruce, just to tell a little story. Like we met with a client of mine that he's very set financially, and we Christina and I met with him twice, and then I met with Monica, and then I called him up the following day. I was like, okay, Bruce, when are you gonna send this stuff to your Allstate agent and call him out on his servicing and just not even doing these reviews with you? And I was like, okay, now critique me. What could I have done better? He's all, nope. He's all, Christine and Monica both presented it so good and educated him. And then he's all, even I chimed in a couple of times, and he's all, you did chime in good because you were talking about it, the same stuff. So it was a good experience. And he's like, no, I like that. He's all, we just are now, he's got to get his wife approval, and then meeting with his agent over there that he doesn't even know, which I think is just now, it's just like, okay, I don't want to rush him, but now it's done. And now
Yeah.
all those dots are,
it's go time, Jimmy.
yes,
It's go time with Bruce.
yes.
So here's the thing. Bruce is like if you saw him, he's an older gentleman, right? That walks in, I shake his hand. I don't know his history. I don't know who he was, what he did. And so in the conversation, and it's inquisitive of the person as a human being sitting across the desk from you, right? And so I'm sitting across from him, and I'm like, Bruce, tell me about like what did you do when you were retired? Well, he was like the vice president of some huge software firm, the chief operating officer, or something like that, Jimmy. You know. So I was like, and he was talking about. I think we were on the subject of me hiring Jimmy or something like that. And he said, oh my gosh, Christina, I have hired thousands of people, thousands. I think we were talking about the snow job that people do on you in an interview, and then they present themselves one way, and that's how we got on that subject. But that's why I said, well, what did you do? You know, and I just acted really inquisitive. And then I was like, oh my gosh, this guy, like he really, in order to be a chief operating officer of a big software firm, he had to have known what he was doing at the time he did it, right? So I was like, oh my gosh, impressed. And so just joking around, making light, connecting with people. And I think it's somewhat called charisma, right? Having charisma with, and really charisma is not being boisterous. It's not being, life of the party. Having charisma is connecting with people. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So the more that you can connect with the person sitting across from you, whatever that is, however you can, the more likely they are to do business with you. Right? So work on that piece. And it's really just from the heart, connecting with people, valuing what they value, loving the person. And I know that sounds weird, it's a complete stranger, but caring about the position they're in, looking for insurance, asking about their family, all of those things create that connection and make them want to do business with you. All right, so that's a big piece. It's not about saying the right words to close the deal. It's also about that connection. And it really is shown through care about what, because I'm telling you, correct me if I'm wrong, if you have a different opinion, but if they were to walk into a State Farm or an Allstate or a Farmers agency, will they be treated the same way you treated them? They're a number. They are a number. All right, what do you need? Okay, here's my rate. All right, you don't like it? Okay, bye. I'm being extreme, right? But make the experience part of the reason they come back. If they are shopping. Okay. All right. The other part of this is not only just closing the deal, but it's also even previous to that. All right, so let's step back from going all the way to the close and step back into the recommendations. All right, so I know last time we talked about explaining coverage. If we were sitting in front of a client, how would we go through and explain, bits and pieces of the auto, bits and pieces of the home? And Gabby, I know you missed it last time, but we had Devin on, and Devin worked in claims for 10 years previous with another company. So, I mean, Jimmy had a situation, right, with a client that had a mechanical breakdown. He took his car to get an oil change, and the minute he drove his car up, the car was not working. I guess the guy had overfilled the oil, blah, blah, blah. And so I remember Jimmy calling me and saying, this guy wants to know if he can do vehicle rental on his policy because his car's in the shop. And I'm like, no, it's mechanical breakdown, And then Devin, so we use that example with Devin. And Devin's like, heck yeah, he can, because it was a sudden impact to his car based on somebody else doing something to his vehicle. And so that he can file a claim. And I was like, gosh, I didn't know that,
So to fill you in, this is the one that I called Jeremy yesterday. It's the same guy. Now the mechanic is fixing his car, and it's going to be ready because I guess he put out he's going to get his attorney involved. And sure enough, I don't know if it was a bark or a bite, but he's going back. So that was the situation that now he wants it back on his policy. And I was like, oh my goodness. But it was in the legacy policy. So I'm like, I'll be told him, yeah, that's the other part. I was like, oh, and then trying to rewrite it was just outrageously high in the new system. So just to try to reinstate it on that.
all of the conversion stuff and all of that. It's just knowing part of a lot of the conversation we had was around knowing how to explain the coverage. And so this was a great lesson for all of us. I'm like, Devin, what else do you have? Like what other, unique situations that we would normally think weren't covered are, but that was a great one that I'm just like, oh my gosh, note that one. But if it's something a mechanic does that's sudden, and I mean, you can file a claim and let country go after them. That's what you have the insurance for. So, anyway, but let's get on the recommendations piece. So it's not only explaining the coverages, but then when you are sitting with let's just say a new prospect, and they filled out, Jimmy, that can connect, you did their quotes on auto and home, you're explaining the coverage and making recommendations. What are some of the hangups that you guys find at this point when you're making recommendations to a client? What, any hangups that come up into your mind when you get to this piece? Any pushback from a client?
A lot of it's been price. Some of the people, oh, it's here, and I'm like, no, well, here's the difference. Look at, here's the coverage, and like Bruce didn't have his keepers on his Porsche. I was like, no, you need that. And it's only was like $14. And then when I point out the price of how much it's going to be, then it's like, okay, well, what other vehicle can you replace for $14 on your policy? And is that on there?
So price is a pushback on a recommendation. What else?
Coverage amounts, the liability amounts. Why is it 100? Oh, well, it's prices of a vehicle like you explained to me is not what it used to be back in the day with inflation and
So Jimmy, you just said the word. You just said why. Right, that's what I'm looking for. Is, do you ever find yourself in a situation where you make a recommendation that you can't back up based on something the client said was important to them? Do I need to repeat the question?
yes.
Do you ever find yourself in a situation where you make a recommendation that the client questions and you can't give them a reason why based on something they said was important to them? Have you ever found yourself making a recommendation out of your own value of that recommendation?
I have done that. I assumed, which I should not have assumed so many times, like, oh, you don't know, this is minimum coverage, you should have this, but not knowing their financial situation, their history, and all that was like an eye-opening that I've never experienced until you called me out on it in a good way. You gave me a left hook, right hook. No. Which I appreciate because I want to get better, and that's the only way I'm going to get better is if I can take that as constructive criticism, and it's what I need to do to be better for the people.
So as you think about this, as you're going through and you're presenting, hey, here's my recommendations. This is a new prospect. You're recommending all this coverage, right? Whatever their situation looks like. So you're going through and you're presenting an auto policy to them. And hey, I'm recommending the keeper. I'm recommending driver IQ. I'm recommending all these things. If at any point the client stops you and says, why are you recommending that for me? You have got to have an answer. All right. And it cannot be your opinion.
Yeah.
You've got to tie that back to their current situation. Something they said was important to them. In your conversation with them, as you're gathering data, as you're seeing what their situation is, and hey, here's why I'm recommending 25500 on UMUIM. I'm recommending it because you have 25500 on your liability. So you're protecting other people, you're protecting your assets in case you injure someone else. But what if an uninsured person injures you in the car? Bodily injury, anyone in your household, you're walking on the sidewalk and a pedestrian, an auto injures you. Why would you have less coverage on yourself than someone else? Right? So that's my record. And the UMUIN. Or here, I'm recommending them for. That's one that you're like, all right, how is it? I think it's a great thing, right? Because the client just bought a brand new vehicle. And why wouldn't they want to do this? Right? How could you, if you have not talked to the client about the keeper and you put it on as a recommendation, how can you tie it back to something that would be important to them without asking them if it was?
Because we just assumed it was, as opposed to asking them.
How can you position that? Someone walked me through, I'm the client, we'll do a role play. I'm the client and you're presenting the keeper to me. But you've never asked me about it, you've never done anything like that. How would you do that and tie it back into what's in it for me?
That's a nice new car you got, and you know what? Yeah, how much did it lose value as soon as you took it off the lot? Wow, would you want that all to be lost, or would you like to have a little insurance plan to keep that coverage safe? Oh, by the way, this is what country offers called the keeper, and explaining that here's this, and for this it's up to 4 model years, and I highly recommend it, but the choice is yours, and can't say I didn't offer you ahead of time, so I know we are on point, and this is one of the best values, one of the best insurance policies out there, and I don't know if there's any other company that's offering that.
Yeah. Here's a couple things that come to my mind, right? One of them is whether you just spoke to the person over the phone. A new car, let's say it's a current client, right? Just adding a new car. They don't know anything about the keeper, their other car was super old. They called in, and whether it's true or not, here's a way to get through this, recommending it based on what you heard them say is, hey, you know what, we have something I want to present to you today. It's called the keeper, and here's the reason why I'm including this on the quote, all right? Because when you called in, you seemed super excited. You just bought a new car. It's, your other one was pretty old, so I could hear the excitement in your voice. And so this is why I'm recommending this to you, is because just what Jimmy said, the minute you drove that off the lot, it lost value. And here's what we have to kind of make up for that. Easy, right? Whether it's true or not, you're saying, hey, I heard excitement in your voice that you bought a new car. So I want to help you protect the value of that car. Here's why I'm recommending this. Or you could say, hey, I saw you drive in the parking lot, kind of, as you close the door, dust off the hood a little bit, like, oh, let's get the dust off my new car. So I knew this was important to you. I mean, it sounds cheesy, right? It sounds completely cheesy, but whatever situation you want to kind of point out, I'm just using that as an example of there are certain things that we think are important that we assume other people will think is important, that are a bell and whistle, that could protect. You need to be able to tie it back to the reason why what's in it for them, right? Or something you observed, and here's why I'm recommending this. Here's what I observed in our conversation or in when you walked in, whatever that was. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And then you never find yourself in a position of selling an endorsement. Just selling it to sell it. Right? You can do the same thing with driver IQ. Well, I assumed you wanted at least a 1% discount, so I added it on here. You could ask them, like, hey, talk to me about your opinion on telematics. Some people have strong opinions about it, So there's features and benefits that we feel, why, who wouldn't want to do this? But you've got to be able to tie it back to what's in it for the client. Yes, a discount with driver IQ is in it for the client, but do they value the discount? Or are they put off by Tracker?
It's all about building that relationship and having those conversations of what's and you can even do it just like the casual way of I'm just getting to know you and why you're coming to do this and that kind of thing. But when you pick up on those little details, it really goes a long way to be able to have those conversations.
Because again, they are not having this conversation with anyone else, any other insurance company. It's either on the phone, here's a quote, I've emailed it to you. And if they're just looking at the premium, then they're not going to have the service, they're not going to have the unique experience, they're not going to have the trust, all of those things. So, and sometimes it's hard to build trust in 30 minutes with a client, So you've got to be really good at that. And it kind of goes back to the charisma, the connection with deal is much easier when you've already established all of that, even in the 30-minute session where it's connecting with someone. I mean, there's been many times where I've walked in a place thinking I'm not gonna go over this. You know, if they're over this, I'm not doing it. But I had such a connection, really liked the person I was working with. I'm like, all right, it's worth it. I'm sure you all have experienced that as well.
Oh, for sure.
All right. As far as the closing, using some unique phrases, would you be opposed to, being confident in asking for them to be your client, trying to prevent them from shopping as any way that you can. Hey, what can I do to earn your business? I don't want you to walk out the door without you being part of my country family. I mean, that phrase I got from one of my other agents in Nevada that I used to office with. He would say that. I'm like, you're so cheap. He's like, I am cheesy and I'm going to use it because it works. You know, especially like Gabby, and you're in a small town, Matt, Jeremy, like all three of you work in really small towns, right? And you can say, you're part of my country family, sisters. Matt, you're part of my country family in La Pawnee. Gabby, I'm trying to remember the city that you're in. Barrel. Yeah, my country family in Barrel. But those are just the things that I think of, that it's not cheesy, but it's true, you know, that it comes from the heart. Like, this is your intention, is you want to take care of them. You care about them. So that's all I got on this one. I mean, it's really about connection with people, making great recommendations. The solidity of that recommendation goes back to what's in it for them, what they expressed was of value to them in your conversation. Circling it back to that is so much easier than just, well, I assume it's important to you because it's important to me. Well, you don't have an opinion. You don't. This is not your policy. That's what I tell myself when I was an agent all the time. Christine, this isn't your policy. It's not your opinion. It's their situation.
One thing that Gary has always said to me about this too is don't shop out of somebody else's wallet also. And which it kind of goes the same way, because like sometimes I'll be like, oh my gosh, like this is kind of high, just don't shop out of their wallet.
Good for him. Yeah.
So, and that's been hard to get through my head too, but like in the same respect, like using recommendations for them based on it.
And that's the thing, is you can't assume with anyone what they find of value. You know, if you look at, I mean, just the situation that you just expressed was, oh, this is more than they were paying and they're looking to save money. Uh-oh. You know, but you don't know, based on how you presented, the value that they see and the protection that you're providing them. They might be willing to give up something else that they were spending money on in order to secure that value, that protection. Makes them feel safer, right? They would rather pay country more to take on that risk and maybe not go to Starbucks 5 days a week. But they're willing to give up something else. Move money from pocket A to pocket B. That's what I always say. You're just shifting your spending. So, all right. Any other questions or comments or anything else I can help with? Was it helpful?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Always.
Yep.
Always.
And like the
Alright,
one that
so-
Gabby said too, don't shop out of their wallet.
So we've covered, let's just kind of do a recap. We've covered Fast Start Coaching number 1, referrals. You're remembering to keep that top of mind. Asking for referrals. Being intentional with that. We also covered centers of influence, building our centers of influence pipeline and networking leads groups. Where to look, how to get involved, all of that. And then we started breaking down the beginning of an appointment. So setting the standard. What's in it for them if they work with you? Here's what they experience when they work with you. The 3 pillars of planning: property casualty planning, life planning, and financial planning, right? And introducing them to an FA. So we talked about that. We talked about last time just the meat of the appointment and explaining coverages and really being educated and educating your client on what those mean, how they work in a claim, how they're affected, you know. And then today we talked about closing the deal, making proper recommendations based on what is of value to the client, and how to you know, some different phrasings on how to get them to move forward with you, follow you as you're leading. Number 6, or our last one, will be all around time management and organization of your day. All right. So we're going to talk about prioritization. We're going to talk about urgent, important, non-urgent, not important, like that quadrant, those 4 quadrants of how do you actually, something you're faced with, how do you quickly kind of go through that in your mind? Okay, is this urgent? Well, it's not urgent to me, it's urgent to the client. You know, I mean, there's all sorts of different scenarios, but that will kind of wrap up our fast start coaching, right? I'm like, oh my gosh, we're already in week 6 doing this. So, but I love it. Like you can tell that I love this piece of it. I love educating. I love helping. I love giving you anything I can to help you be more successful. And I think the calendaring piece, the time management piece, is a huge piece of that. If you do everything else great, but you cannot handle your time, you're going to be way behind, like you really are. So we'll talk a lot about that next week, right? Not being so reactive, being more proactive and controlling your day. Okay. All right. Well, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Change.